Hey, it's AZ with Fire Rescue Wellness Podcast. This is episode 137, and today I sat down with Major Cort Smith from the Oklahoma City Fire Department. Major Smith is currently assigned to the Training Academy, and we had a great conversation about the methods he uses to train his candidates. He turns out some of the best firefighters in the country. I know you're going to enjoy this episode. Please give us a rating and a review, and have a great day. Thank you for joining me on the Fire Rescue Wellness Podcast. I'm your host, AZ. I find the research and resources and then provide the fire service with the so what, now what, to ensure the health and well-being of every member of our profession. Together, let's thrive. Hey, everyone. This is AZ with the Fire Rescue Wellness Podcast, and I am here with my new Oklahoma friend, Cort Smith. Cort, say hello to my guests.
Hi, everybody.
Cort's face is beet red. His eyes look like so bloodshot. Tell me what you've been doing all day.
I have been standing outside watching my class of recruits do a drill we call the Mean 15, and it's been like 40 degrees and windy all day. So, I'm pretty weather worn, I guess.
Weather worn. That's amazing. Well, I actually have that on my list to talk to you about, but first I want to introduce you. Well, you have to do the work. You have to do the heavy lift.
Okay.
And you can answer this any way you want to, but who is Cort Smith?
Well, first and foremost, I'm an Oklahoma City firefighter. I'm a major with the training division, and I've got about 16 years on the job. And in training, my primary focus is the Recruit Academy, though I also handle other promotional academies. But the Recruit Academy is my baby and has been so off and on since 2015. And that's what I do. I build firefighters.
Build firefighters. I love that. So what sets your soul on fire?
Honestly, I think it's that time, like that moment in the Recruit Academy. So honestly, okay, what sets my soul on fire is just what I said, building firefighters. I love how I get this raw material come in, and we call our drill ground the Forge, and our logo down there is an anvil. And when we came up with that, I was watching a lot of Forged in Fire at the time, but I was like, that should be our logo, because that's what we do. We get this useless raw material, we get it really hot, we beat it into a usable thing, and then we forge it into this functioning tool that we send out into the fire service. And running recruits is probably my favorite part of the job.
Side question, which might take us on a tangent, but Forged in Fire, that's the one where they make the knives. It's like they get kicked off if they don't make the knife right or whatever.
Yeah,
is that
exactly.
it?
Yep, that's it.
Okay, so being your Facebook friend, I get to see lots and lots and lots of posts about knives.
Oh, yeah.
Is that all tied together?
Well, not really. When I was watching that show, I started following some local bladesmiths, and I get a lot of posts about knives now. I have maybe 2 knives.
So that's not the actual algorithm that's doing it to you.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got you. How are you changing the world?
Well, I don't think I'm changing the world at all, but hopefully I'm changing my department and doing that by just training firefighters, both in the Recruit Academy and then further on our Apparatus Operators Academy, Sergeants Academy, all of it. Hopefully I'm having a positive impact, and people tell me I am. People think I'm, me and my guys. I keep saying me. It's not me. I was talking to my guys the other day about this. This class it's a really great class that we've got right now, and I've got a hell of a team working with me, and I've got 4 lieutenants there on staff who work for me permanently. I've also got 9 people from the field who are either field training officers or mentors. And I was so impressed yesterday when I was looking at everything they were doing down there. And I got them together real quick. I was like, listen, just from me on a personal level, I want to thank you guys, because I don't do anything. I have vision, but that's about it. They make it all happen. And it's certainly the success of this class, or any class. It's not down to me. It's down to the people I work with. But I told those guys, I said, here in a few weeks, when this turns out to be a badass class of badass firefighters, they're going to owe it all to you guys, and it's true. So I don't want to take credit. I was kind of the architect. They built it, yeah, hopefully, people seem to think I do a good job down there, and hopefully I can just keep that going, make a good impact on my department.
Well, I had a cool opportunity to meet you, I don't know, a month, 6 weeks, I don't know, 2 months ago. Time is just weird anymore now in grad school. But I asked you a lot of really quick rapid fire questions about your academy, and I loved your answers. And the thing that I loved the most was I said, do you think we could ever do some research? And you were like, heck yes. I want to know if there's a better way to do something. I want to know about it. Is that kind of your philosophy for life, or your philosophy for training, or how did you come to that?
Oh yeah. I mean, you always want to be better at anything, it's whether it's, if I can find a better way to train recruits, then yeah, I want to know about it. But even when I was in the field, I think I probably had my biggest impact as a apparatus operator, as a driver. I tried, I worked for this guy. His name was Brad Tobin. He's a major, best fireman I've ever met in my life. And working for him, I knew that he thought you were either really, really good or really, really bad, and there was no in between. And so I just knew, I was really intimidated working for him, and it just made me want to be better. So I would just try to find better, ways to be a better engine company operator. And I just started diving into physics and diving into, how do they make fire hose, and how do they construct nozzles, and, all these different things. Just trying to find a way to be a better operator. And so similarly with the Recruit Academy, years ago, I had just kind of an idea. It wasn't really a plan, but it turned out to be a good concept. And so then I tried to find ways to build on that and make it better and better and better. And it has. It's gotten a lot better over the years, but still sticking with that central core concept. Yeah, I guess that is kind of my approach to life. If I can get better, I want to get better. Now, that pretty much just applies to my career. My personal life, I don't know, I probably am not very good at anything.
Well, I walked away from meeting you and I was like, that dude is a nerd. Yeah. And I was so excited about it.
Oh, yeah.
Fellow nerds unite. I have a whole ton of questions for you, but I want to first talk about physical fitness, because not long after I met you, I texted you a question and I said, if you had to sort of summarize the goal of the Fire Academy fitness program, what would it be? And I expected it to be, 10, 15 minutes, and you would give me a couple words. Nope. You texted me immediately back, and you had this really succinct explanation of what you were looking for. And I'm assuming that's maybe like a mission statement or something that you guys use, but can you repeat that?
Yeah, it's one of we have guiding principles down there, and that's one of them. It's our goal with each individual fire recruit is to produce young firefighters who can work at 100% of their physical capacity, doing detailed work in horrible conditions, wearing 60 plus pounds of gear without slowing down or taking a break for 15 minutes. Because if we can do that, if everyone on the fire ground can do that, the house is searched and the fire's out with the first 3 companies, maybe even the first 2. So that's what we want. We run I guess in a nutshell, what I keep telling our recruits all the time, the way we fight fire here is speed, intensity, aggression, and violence. So if you're not succeeding in something like forcing a door, for example, if you can't force it, you need to increase your level of one or more of those things, right? If the door's not going, we need to increase our intensity and our level of violence. One of my guys, Aaron Martin, who's a mentor for me right now, he tells them all the time, subtlety of technique and violence of action. That's what we're going for. And so, yeah, that's our, and it sounds, I don't know, it doesn't sound great when you say it out loud.
I think it sounds fantastic.
Aggression and violence, but honestly, if that's what it takes to get the job done, then that's what we're going to do.
I love that. And I had a feeling that was one of your core values or, missions for the Academy, because it was just so quick and succinct when you said it. So that's amazing. Okay. I had the ability to read through do you call it your training manual, that 80-page
yeah.
manifesto? What is that?
I'm not real creative with names. So my manifesto for the program is called The Program.
That's so perfect. Okay. So I read through the program several times. And what really stuck with me is you have 3 phases a couple of different times in your program. And so you have it on your skill training and you have it on your discipline. So can we talk about your 3 phases of discipline first?
Sure. But really, the 3 phases for the academy in general would be fear, pain, and pride. And the first phase, the fear phase, it starts the first day they show up to the academy. It's technically not their first day on the job. They have 2 days of in-processing, which they do offsite over here at OSU. And then that Friday is their first day with me and my guys. And that day it starts in the classroom. I'll go up and talk a little bit. I don't talk much. The command staff introduces themselves. And then my chief, the training chief, he says a few words, and he hands the class over to me with a charge to have them ready to graduate by, whatever the graduation date is. And I say, yes, sir, thank you. And then I introduce myself. I say, this academy starts now. I talk for a little bit. And then that speech always ends with the same thing. I'll say, from this point on, anytime you're given any type of order, directive, imperative statement of any kind, you will respond with, yes, sir, and then you will execute. Do you understand? They say, yes, sir. And then I repeat that whole thing. I say, do you understand? And they say, yes, sir. I say, okay, everybody go ahead and stand up. They never say yes, sir, or like a few of them will. And then I just explode. I start screaming, going crazy. And that's where that leads into what we call the Shark Tank. We'll lead the recruits. We spend a while up there in classroom A. They got to do wall sits and stand up, sit down, all this stuff. And then they have to get all their uniforms out of their bags, and we take them down to the gym where, like, upstairs, I've got probably 4 or 5 of my guys helping me yell at them. And then when we get down to the gym, there's about 15 more waiting for them. And as soon as they hit the door, it's just hell on earth. We just unleash everything. And that Shark Tank, it's technically, we're inventorying their uniforms that they brought with them. It's just in a very threatening, hostile way. And we'll always lose. We always lose at least one to the Shark Tank. Somebody will quit the first day, which is fine, But the point of that, we're not there to just beat the hell out of these kids. The point of the fear phase is we want them too scared to question anything, because we know that what we're teaching them is the best way of doing everything. So the last thing we want is for them to question it. They just do it. We don't even tell them why they're doing it at first. I tell my instructors, focus on how, the why will come later. And we just do that through reps. And so after we get them scared, which doesn't really take long, a couple days tops, we move into we eventually graduate to the pain phase, which it doesn't really mean like inflicting physical pain on them or whatever, but it's just the pain of kind of the grind, because that's where they really get into the all day, every day on the drill field. And when we're on the drill field all day, they're in full gear with a pack all day long. There's no sitting, no nothing. Your body just needs to get accustomed to it. And they're working all day, and it's interesting, like usually five or so weeks in, you can tell there's kind of a switch. And the kids, I keep saying kids, the recruits.
They're literal children.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. It's like a switch gets flipped in their heads where they just know, this is my life now. I'm going to wake up, I'm going to get ground into the dirt all day long, and then I'm going to go home and sit in a bath of Epsom salts or whatever, and then I'm going to get up and do it again tomorrow. And it's just, after a while, they're not only accustomed to it, they kind of start to enjoy it and expect it. And the really good classes, they want it to get harder and harder, which is awesome. That's what this class is. They want things to get harder. They want to excel, which is great. That's always happy to see. And then the final phase, the pride phase, is the last month or so. We've got them where we want them. You know, that last month, they're awesome. They're doing great. So we're just doing burns and, you know, getting more reps in. But we're really trying to build them up. We point out to them. I always ask them, you know, during that phase, I'll say, think back to week 1 on the drill field. Like, if I had told you back then that you would be doing what you're doing now in a day and accomplishing all this, would you believe me? And they would say every time, like, no, I would have told you you're crazy. It's impossible. If I'd known that was going to be the expectation, I probably would have quit. And that's where you really see them, like, I don't know, you see a lot of pride in them, and that's what we're going for. We want them leaving the academy, you know, as prepared as we can possibly get them to go out there and really conquer and do the job and do it well and be aggressive and all those things that we want.
And you have a concurrent academy, right? You have your people that have worked somewhere else, and then you have the people that have never done the job before. What are the lengths of those academies? Yeah,
so the Accelerated Academy, we don't have it every class. So the way it works is we'll get our hiring pool, or we'll get the guys who we want to hire. And if we have enough in there who have all the certifications, being Firefighter 1, Firefighter 2, Hazmat A&O, and then EMT Basic, if we've got like 15 or so, then we'll go ahead and run a fast class. So that's 8 weeks. And then the other class, the full class, is 16 weeks generally. Now, we'll fluctuate a little bit based on weather. If we're starting in the summertime, which we did this one, I've got a separate syllabus that I run. But generally it's 8 weeks and 16 weeks.
Okay. And then if they don't have their EMT, is that something completely separate?
Yes. So on our department, we'll provide you the opportunity to get your EMT. We'll put you through school and stuff. But it's up to you. You have to have your national registry done by the time you get your year on. If you don't, you're fired. But we will set them up with a program either through OSU or O-Trip or whoever. So they have every opportunity to get it done.
Amazing. So one of the things when I was speaking to you, it just made so much sense, but it had never occurred to me before, was basically you, instead of having units, like now we're doing ladders, now we're doing hose line, you teach everything basically at once. Tell me how that works for you, because I'm sure it's amazing, and then kind of how you came up with that idea.
Yeah, it does work very well for us. I came up with that in my first class, which was 15-1, 2015, and that I'd really wanted an opportunity to train firefighters for a while, and I didn't really have a plan. Like I said, I had an idea. I thought if I could put them in skill stations, and at each skill station they learn a separate skill: hand lines, ground ladders, search, what have you. But you only teach them a little bit at a time, so they're getting exposure to every skill every day. So you don't have the problem of skill retention, because in a traditional academy, like you said, you have handline week, ground ladder week, or whatever. So you may go 2, 3, 4 weeks without touching a ground ladder. So you're going to lose a lot, you know. But if you have constant daily exposure to everything, you just build on those skills every single day. And the way we do it, there's a really great book, best book I've ever read on training. It's called The Talent Code by Daniel Coyle. And when I read that, it became my Bible for training. And in that, he has this concept of chunking, where you take any task and you break it down to its simplest elements, and you teach one thing 1,000 times, and then you move on to the next step. So by way of an example, with ground ladders, I should back up. A lot of people look at our academy and the things we teach, and they say that they're too advanced for recruits. And obviously I disagree. I don't allow my instructors to use the words basic or advanced. There is no basic, there is no advanced, there's only the way, right? So there's 100 different ways to do anything, but there's one most effective, most efficient way, and that makes it the right way. So we're only going to teach the right way to these recruits. So for example, ground ladders, we only allow a one-man high shoulder carry, right? The first ladder they ever touch, and the only ladder they touch for about 2 months, is a 24-foot extension ladder. So we teach them how to balance the ladder. So if that first chunk there, they're just picking the ladder up, finding that balance point, getting comfortable with it, and then setting it back down. Picking it up again, setting it back down. They may do this a few hundred times before they ever even take a step, But once they get it balanced, now we're going to walk a few feet and stick it upright. Then we're going to bring it back and walk a few feet. And so you get the idea, and you keep advancing through that until, they're throwing ladders to targets, to windows, to roofs, or wherever, what have you. Similarly on hand lines, the only hand line they teach that they hold for the first couple of months is a 2.5 inch with an 1 3/16 nozzle, because it's the hardest thing to handle. So being that it's difficult, it's 109 pounds of nozzle reaction, it forces you to learn technique, because if you don't, you're just going to get tossed around. And they get tossed around for a while, but then they figure out that technique, and then it becomes quite simple for them. And we do that with everything. So you just keep building, one of my old majors at training called it chain training. And so you just keep adding links to the chain.
So much like the 3 phases of discipline, there's 3 phases of skills: the tasks, the tactics, and the strategies. Mm-hmm. So can you break those down a little bit so the listeners understand that as well?
Sure. A task would be I was probably going in reverse. So a strategy obviously is the overall vision of how all the tactics work together to achieve a goal. The tactics would be like fire ground assignments, fire attack, vertical ventilation, search, whatever. So then you take a tactic like fire attack, for example, and you break it down to its tasks. So those would be all the individual things that make up fire attack. So it would be hose, like hand line advancement, nozzle control, nozzle discipline, all these different things. You get to the actual make the fire room. How do we apply water in there? We practice that, and you move on to hydraulic ventilation. So you just take any tactic, break it down to or say, take VES for example. VES would be throwing the ladder, ascending the ladder, entering the window, isolating the room, searching the room, extricating the victim, and then bringing the victim down the ladder, and then doing EMS. Each one of those things we train on separately until they've mastered it, and then we put it all together.
The day I came to visit you, you guys were doing your job task test. Do you have a name for that? RPET, is that right?
RPAT, yeah.
RPAT. And what you told me was that they had never done all of these skills together in a row at once, but yet they were doing great. So that is just building upon the task, tactic, and strategies, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. One of the things that I was a little bit excited to read in the program was you use this term called training scars.
Oh, yeah.
And it was in reference to hiding your victims where they are actually typically found, as opposed to sticking a victim on top of a dryer or something like that. Mm. But talk to me what you mean exactly about training scars and why they probably aren't that helpful.
Okay, so a couple of the most prevalent training scars in the fire service. One would be a lot of firefighters will go into high heat or go into the burn room or wherever, and they always learn pencil, 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 right? That's a bad idea, right? Because the reason people started doing that is they wanted to save the set. So in training environments in the burn box, they didn't want to put the fire all the way out because they wanted to save the burn for the next group, right? Well, over years of doing that, people just did it in real life. They go pencil, 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 but they wouldn't actually put the fire out. So that would be a training scar, right? So in our academy, you put every fire out every single time completely, and you have to check for embers and all that stuff. Another really prevalent one is people will like take search, for example. In training, people will go in and search a house or whatever it is, find a mannequin, bring it out, spike it in the front yard, high fives all around. Search is not complete, though, until you're providing EMS to that patient. So that's what we do. Every victim that comes out, immediately you start CPR. There's all kinds of training scars in the fire service.
I can think of one great one. We would get these, we'd get houses that we'd get to burn down, but they would say, like, just call out the window. Don't break the window. Don't mess up the door. Like, but wait, right. This is what we need to do. Oh, did you come up with that terminology?
Oh, no, that's been around forever.
Never heard of it. I like that. So tell me, how did the academy, how does it differ now? So you've made some pretty big changes, it sounds like. How does it differ now than before? How did it look before?
You mean before I got there?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. Well, I could tell you about my academy when I was a recruit.
Yeah, do that.
I came on in 2008, and I was so my dad was a firefighter, and I'm not one of those kids who grew up just dying to be a fireman, like a lot of guys. I never really considered it. When I got out of high school, I joined the Air Force, and I was there. I did that for 12 years, but then I decided I wanted to be a fireman. I was 30, and so I knew that it was a hard job. I didn't really know much about it, but I knew it was really hard and demanded a lot. So I trained, and I got in really good shape and came in there expecting, I don't know, like boot camp or something. And it was not that. It was, I never felt challenged. I was, the whole thing was really easy. The only hard part was PT, kind of, just because all we ever did was run, but I was not challenged at all by that academy. And what always stuck with me and bothered me for years was I finished the academy and graduated. I went to my first rotation at Station 1, and the thing they told me when I got there was, forget everything you learned in the academy. We're going to teach you how to really be a fireman.
Oh, I hate that.
And that happens a lot, like all
everywhere.
Over the place. And I just hate that. It really pissed me off. I was like, well, we just wasted 4 months, and yeah, it's funny you bring that up. I was talking to one of my guys 2 days ago, actually, Austin Blake, who's a phenomenal firefighter. He's one of the mentors for this class. He's been through that program, my program. I never have, right? And so he asked me, he said, so you wrote the program, but you never went through it. So how is it, like, we can all relate, because all those guys who were helping me, they've all been through the programs. Like, we can all sympathize and relate to what they're going through and how hard it is and how beat down they are. So how do you keep that separation where you just don't really care how bad they've got it? And I asked him, I was like, so you're asking me why I don't sympathize or I have no sympathy? He's like, yeah, that's exactly what I'm asking you. Like, here's why I have no sympathy. Put yourself in my shoes in 2008. And I wanted to learn all these things, but nobody would teach me. That's why I don't have any sympathy. These guys are learning everything I wanted to learn. In fact, they're learning stuff that firefighters all over the country pay thousands of dollars to go to conferences to learn, but they're getting paid to learn it. I have zero sympathy, like it's, I don't know. Well, you're really going to get me going now.
Let's go.
Well, so that's why I started doing a lot of things that we do in the academy. It was because, I went to some conferences and I learned some cool stuff, and we all go to conferences to learn better ways of doing things. And they're always teaching us something different than what we learned in rookie school. Why aren't we teaching those things in rookie school? It always comes down to this thing where people think, oh, that's too advanced for a recruit. No, it's not. Let's bet on ourselves. Supposedly we're hiring good people. Well, let's put it to the test. Let's teach them the best ways to do it. Why would you do anything that isn't the best way of doing anything? Especially a job like this, where our whole reason for being is to save lives. So if we're not doing things the best way possible, we're not going to save as many lives as we could. We're not going to save as much property as we could. We're going to lose lives. Like, that's crazy to me that any academy would teach anything less than the best way of doing anything. And I'm sympathetic, to, like, I've got a lot of resources here in Oklahoma City. We're a big department. We got a lot of money. And my command staff is, unfortunately, they really support what we're doing. So I get pretty much anything I ask for. And I know, other places, they may not be as fortunate, but still, I don't know. If you just, I'll put it like this. If you're only training to the IFSTA standard, your people are going to die who otherwise wouldn't have.
Yeah.
And that just crawls all over me. And so that's why I refuse to teach a lot of the things, like even on the Firefighter 1 skill sheet, we cover it all as we're required to, but there's certain things I refuse to teach. Like, we're not teaching a 2-man ladder throw with a 24. If you ask my recruits right now how to do it, they'd be confused. And then when you showed them how to do it, they would be even more confused and say, like, why would you ever do that? You wouldn't. I don't know why you would ever do that. It seems to me like this industry is the only one I can think of where lives are at stake, where we want to be able to say, well, anybody can be a fireman. Anybody, as long as you want to do it and you can do these things to this bare minimum standard, you can call yourself a fireman. Why? Why? Nobody, cops don't do that. Military doesn't do that. There's no, volunteer army. I mean, you have to meet rigid standards. If you're going to call yourself a soldier, call yourself a Marine, why wouldn't you have those same rigid standards to call yourself a firefighter?
That makes so much sense. And it goes back to that. We don't do basics in advance. That's so smart. I'm feeling like you should write a book.
Yeah, I've been told that. I don't know. I won't even I used to want to be one of those national, training type guys. You travel around. And I looked at that, and some of those guys are really great. I'm a huge fan of a lot of those guys. Brian Brush is a good buddy of mine. He's big time, and people listen to him. But I kind of quit chasing that because I was like, I'm not interested in trying to convince people that what we're doing here is good. I don't care what you do. Do what you want, But in Oklahoma City, we're going to do it this way.
I love that.
It's enough for me to know that that my recruits are going to be good firefighters, and my department is going to do a great job, and we're going to save a lot of lives.
I love that. So I've been hearing a lot of wins. All of these sound like wins. Are there any kind of maybe some hard lessons learned?
Oh, absolutely.
Are you willing to share some of those?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'll tell you a very specific one. In 2019, I was running a class, and my brother, Wes Sitton, he was helping me run that class. And I always ask the recruits, I asked the class very early on, usually in the first week, I ask them, am I allowed to cuss on this? I'll try not. Okay. I get carried away. But anyway, I asked them, why do you want to be firefighters? And they'll raise their hand. Well, I just really want to help people, sir. Okay. And somebody else, it's my calling, sir. I really want to help people. And all of them, they want to help people. So I asked them, okay, who else here because you want to help people? And everybody raised their hand. And I was like, it's bullshit. Why are you here though? Why aren't you working for the Peace Corps or the fire, like an ambulance service or any one of 1,000 jobs that exist to help people? There's a reason. Why are you here? Why do you want to be a fireman? And they'll just sit there, and I'll say, all right, if you're here because you want to wear the gear that others can't wear, to go the places others can't go and save the lives that others can't save, we'll get you there. If you want to be the baddest motherfucker in the room, do all those things, we will get you there. If that's not what you want, you're not going to make it here. Go volunteer somewhere. They'll give you some gear. You can put on your Facebook, tell everyone you're a firefighter. That's great. But not here. This is what we build here. And one of the recruits raised his hand, and actually before I told him all that, he raised his hand and said, well, sir, the pay and the benefits and the schedule were really appealing to me. Well, my brother, Wes, he has very similar ideas as me. And you can imagine both of us were like, oh my God, you seriously just said that out loud? So I judged him very harshly. What I didn't know at the time was that recruit had a wife who'd been battling cancer for quite some time. And I didn't take into account the fact that he would have, and he did, give us everything he had to make it through that academy and to do well and be a good fireman. And he to this day, he's a great fireman. And when I learned about that, it kind of shook me a little bit. And the truth is, I don't need people who all want to be, the best motherfucker in the room or whatever. The academy will turn them into that, it really doesn't matter to me now why they're there. I don't care. I don't ask that question anymore. Their motivation is irrelevant. The fact is they're there. So obviously they want to do well. They want to have a meaningful job, and they want to save lives and all that stuff. I mean, who becomes a firefighter not knowing that that's what we do? So I don't judge anybody on their motivation anymore. I just show them the way to get there.
I love that. And also, I'm familiar with a young man who didn't realize that he would have to work on Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
And yes. Yeah, I think you need to have some familiarity with what you're getting yourself into
Yeah.
to some extent.
You know how many of these current recruits I have never seen the movie Backdraft?
Well, they're also 12.
I don't care. Hell.
That's the best training movie out there, right?
Like, I was like, how many of y'all seen Backdraft? Like, maybe 4 of them. Like, oh my God. What about Ladder 49? Like, maybe, another 4. Like, hell, I'm not even asked about the Towering Inferno. They never even heard of that. They never even heard of Steve McQueen. I'm like, oh boy. Yeah.
I can't work under these conditions.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So I got the impression, and I might be wrong, so just tell me I'm full of crap, but I got the impression that you used to be much more hands-on, and now you're kind of in this sort of like Overwatch position, letting your people do what they do best. First of all, is that the right impression?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
How did you get there? Because I know a lot of people can't get there.
Well, a lot of it came with rank, but when I started, so okay, in the fire service, firemen, there's 2 things all firemen hate, right? The way things are and change, right? So changing the academy, I had to convince people early on that it was a good idea. So in 2015, well, the first class in 2015, I did 2. The first one, it was me and a guy named Rob Gilkison, who was the mentor. I was the FTO. I wasn't part of the staff. Back then, the staff was like a lot of training staffs. They're, older guys who, they're trying to add some more years on their career. And I get it. That's great. As such, though, they didn't want to come down to the drill field and do that stuff a whole lot. But I really thought that idea was good and it would work. So it was funny. Initially, we had 60 recruits. It was me and one other guy. And, well, my buddy Matt from training, he would come down when he could, but he was doing everything else for training. So really, it was just for the most part, it was me and Rob. And we would just set up our skill stations, get them working. And then we were just running from skill station to skill station saying, okay, what are you doing? Show it to me. Okay, do it more like this. All right, everybody see that? Okay, get reps. And then we run to the next one. So, I was very hands-on. And then the second class was about the same in 2015, both great classes. In 2016, we didn't have any. And then 2017, so after that second class, I was like, I'm done. I'll never train another recruit. Went back to my rig and I was happy. 2017, they had 3 classes and it was a little off. I kept saying like, man, why didn't you guys do this in the academy? Why didn't you do that or whatever? So then the 2018 class came along. And at that point, my brother, Justin Lorenzen, he was part of the staff now. Awesome firefighter. And he's becoming one of those nationally known guys. His thing is search. He is a search guru, right? So with him on staff, and I came back as an FTO, when he and I started working together, it really came into what it is, now, or it started to. So it was me and J-Lo. And, by the way, if you ask anybody on the Oklahoma City Fire Department about J-Lo, they will tell you Justin Lorenzen. Nobody's going to say Jennifer Lopez. Right? Okay, so
I'm going to test that.
Yeah. So J-Lo and I ran that class, and we had 2 guys as mentors, Tony Morgan and Dylan Murray, phenomenal firefighters as well. And that's where, having 4 guys instead of 2, it really started to grow, and we put out an amazing class. Well, then now it's starting to catch on. So 19, I get more good people. 2020, get more, and it kept building. So I'd say probably by the 2021 class, at that point I was still a lieutenant, but I had enough people there to help where I wasn't teaching a whole lot anymore. I would train the instructors for a couple of weeks before the class started, and then I would just walk around and just keep an eye on the instructors and make sure I want everything to run really efficiently, and I don't want any standing around. That's my thing. And so if I saw a station where recruits I thought they were standing around too much, I'd watch what they were doing. And then I would maybe pull the instructor to the side and say, hey, instead of doing this, how about let's get both groups going at the same time? So, we're getting more reps. And then also to scare the recruits. they're all, I guess they think I'm a scary guy. So when I
think you're a scary guy.
I'm a really nice guy, but they tend to behave differently when I'm around. So that kind of became my job. And then the first class in 21 was my last class as a lieutenant. I promoted to captain and left training and went back out to the field. And so now I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm really not training anymore.
For reals this time.
Yeah. I mean, they have the program. They've got all the stuff, I'm done. And there were 2 classes that happened while I was gone. And they weren't bad, but I could tell it was kind of starting to go, it was on a downward trend. And so I went back 2 years ago, and I've been there ever since. So now as a major, I really don't do any teaching. I've got all the help I could need. I've got 4 lieutenants working for me. I've got 9 people, 13 instructors is what I've got, for this class we started with 60. So it's, but now I just kind of manage all the instructors and still I'll scare the kids occasionally if I need to.
Give dirty looks, keep them scared.
Yeah. Gotta keep them in line.
I wanted to ask you about, you mentioned the other, like the engineer academy and the officer academies. Are you basically doing academies 365 days a year?
Not 365, but we have enough work to go around throughout the year. We got the recruit academy is the biggest. It's 4 months. And then like mixed in, whenever we usually don't know when there's going to be a promotional test. So it might drop whenever, But yeah, when that one happens, we'll run that academy as well. Maybe during the recruit academy, hopefully not, but it happens all the time. Hell, during this academy, we had 2 back-to-back AOAs, so that's a whole month of apparatus operators academy during the recruit academy, and that was
what could go wrong.
Yeah, we make it work. Hell, there's one time we had an AOA, a recruit academy, and a sergeant's academy all at the same time, and I was like, "Are you kidding me? Like, is this a test?"
They're trying to get you to go back to the line and get out of the academy. Right, yeah. That's what they're trying to do.
Yeah, but the promotional academies, like I said, I do some teaching in those. Again, not as much as I used to, but those I'm more just kind of, I'll schedule everything. The classes, we pretty much have all the classes that we're going to teach, so I'll just schedule the instructors and stuff like that. I'm more just kind of a coordinator for those.
Love it. I wanted to talk to you about 3 specific drills, one of which I think you did today, and one I saw on Facebook yesterday or the day before. So Mean 15, Hose Monster, and Everybody Goes Home. Which one makes sense to talk about first?
Probably, well, I don't know. This whole week is one long continuous survival deal. Yeah. So this week is what we call survival week. And it's the toughest week of the academy. And we start off early on Monday. So first of all, PT every day. You're not going to like this.
I know. I'm not going to like it.
So PT every day on survival week is full gear with a pack. And at least 2 of those days, they're breathing air during PT. I think the day before, do you know much about CrossFit workouts?
I do.
Okay. I'm not a CrossFitter.
I'm not either, but yeah.
My people are. But a couple of days ago, they did Murph.
In gear,
on air. Until the mask stuck to their face and they can unclick. And
I cannot. Go ahead.
It's awesome though. Like I don't know, everyone thinks it's too hard, and then they do it, and then they're, not only are they becoming more fit and tougher, but their confidence goes through the roof,
I do love that.
Yeah. And so anyway, that's PT, Monday through Thursday. They didn't have PT today. But then we start with the fundamental skills for survival, like RIT drills. They start off very simple and they grow in complexity. We'll do the Nance drill, the Denver drill. We teach them different breathing techniques, how to conserve air, wheel breathing, box breathing, stuff like that. Christ, what else do we do? Well, anyway, building towards Wednesday and Thursday. That's when we do, like, I guess we can talk about the survival, the self-rescue drill. That's where, so the scenario is it's a 3-person drill, and we put them in a room and it's blacked out. You wear a mask, you can't see anything. So it's all cluttered, it's full of crap. They have to find this hole in the wall where they can punch through the sheetrock. And, so anyway, 2 of them are good. 1 of them is down. Okay, he's unconscious. And they've called a mayday, but we're not just going to call a mayday and then just sit there. We're going to try to self-extricate, right? So that's what they do. Zero biz, they've got to try to make their way out to the Bravo Charlie corner. And we give them all this ahead of time. We tell them, you need to make your way to the bedroom, Bravo Charlie corner, then make your way along the Charlie side towards the Delta side. And at the Charlie Delta corner, you need to turn and make your way out the Alpha side. There's a door there. But there's all kinds of obstacles in the way. Like, hell, there's all kinds of crap they got to move out of the way. And then when they come out of one room, there's actually a tractor tire that they've got to get themselves and that down firefighter through. And then they've got to move more crap out of the way. They got to bust through I don't know what you call it, OSB door that they just got to rip apart. And then they got to go through these reduced profile props that are basically the width of studs, but it's only, the hole is maybe 16 inches wide. And I think it's only 16 inches tall as well.
Brutal. Yeah.
So they got to get themselves and their victim through that. Got to go over these other obstacles. Anyway, it's extremely difficult. Very, very difficult. And the next drill is EGH, which stands for Everyone Goes Home. And the name comes from, well, the scenario is there's a fire alarm. A mayday has been called after a collapse on Division 2. There's a firefighter trapped in the Bravo Charlie corner on Division 2. Because of the collapse, all the windows are they're out of play. And so they got to make their way in through the Alpha side and get their way to them. It's also a hoarder house. So we have furniture and all kinds of crap stacked floor to ceiling. And as soon as they enter, that's the first thing they see is a shitload of furniture. And so they've got to get through that. And it's hoarded up all the way down the hallway, all the way up the stairs, all the way down the next hallway. And then when they get to the room where he's at, they can hear his pass device. He's buried under all this crap. And, also the down firefighter weighs 350 pounds.
Of course he does.
Yeah. And so they've got to tunnel out the way they went in. Usually it takes 2 teams to get them all the way out. We had 1 team make it all the way out.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. So yeah, the lesson there is kind of twofold. 1, if you're a fireman, don't weigh 350 pounds. And then 2, we're not leaving anybody behind. So whatever it takes, we're going to get them out.
3, clean your house.
Yeah, clean. Yeah, that'd be good. Civilians listening, keep a tidy home. And then the Mean 15 is the drill they did today, and it's named in honor of my first class. There was 15-1. They called themselves Mean 15. So kind of the history of it. Again, that was my first class, and they were awesome. And so when I was teaching them survival skills, they were kind of cruising through everything. So I started making shit up, like combining drills, whatever. And they kept doing really well. And then it was like the middle of the week, Wednesday afternoon, and they're like, "Sir, can you make us something like really, really hard?" Like, I have been. I don't know. I'm making this shit up. They're like, "No, something's like it should be impossible." I was like, "Okay." And I went home. It took me about an hour and a half, and I drew up this whole thing. Do you want me to break down the whole drill?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, this drill, they start on the rig. It's a 4-man drill. They start on the rig. They get off. And it takes place around our drill tower, a 6-story drill tower. So when they get off, they've got to throw a 24-foot ladder to Division 3 on the Delta side. They have to throw a 14-foot ladder to Division 2 on the Alpha side. They have to pull a hand line to the Alpha side. They have to skull line or hand jack line, whatever you want to call it, about 150 feet to the plug and get that turned in. And then they kind of regroup, and then the whole crew has to get themselves and any tools that they have through an 18-inch wide tube that's 25 feet long. And when they come out of that, they've got to force a door. It's just a door prop. Once they go through that door, now they got to get on air. At that point, their down firefighter also gets on air, which they'll find him later. They go through the door. They go through this metal tin horn that leads into this box that goes 3 different directions and has all kinds of entanglement stuff and whatever. And they go through that. They go up to Division 2 through a reduced profile prop into Division 2. There's a trap door there. They've got to get the line that they pulled up the ladder up into Division 2, drop it down, and then do the Nance drill down to 1, where they'll find their down firefighter in the Denver prop, get him out of there, and then they've got to Nance drill the victim and the rescuer or rescuers if they send 2 down, which is always a mistake. They got to get them back up to 2, and now they got to drag this down firefighter with them. back through the reduced profile prop into the stairwell, up to Division 3, through another reduced profile prop to the ladder that they threw in the beginning, and get the whole crew and the down firefighter down the ladder, and then get him stripped and ready for CPR. The rules are pretty basic. I mean, anything you bring in, you have to bring back out. If you unclick for any reason, go off air, you drop, and now you're another victim, and your crew's got to get you out too. No ladders can enter the structure. We've seen people try that before. But a lot of times people will bring in like extra bottles and stuff, and they'll hot swap in the middle. Half the time they fail on the hot swap and they die, and so they got to unclick. Now they're dead. And it's just more stuff you got to carry with you. But it's funny, back in 15 when I made it, I had them put it all together on Thursday, and it's just so I could kind of get an idea of what it would look like. And it was supposed to be impossible. Well, I designed it so if you were going to make it, you had to hot swap. There was no way. And I was like, okay, this is going to humble them. And one crew said, well, can we try it just right now? And I was like, yeah, go ahead. They took extra bottles with them, and they made it. And it took them 47 minutes, but they made it. And I was like, oh my God. And so now the whole class is like, we got to do this, I'm like, it's like, okay, tomorrow everybody can do it. And they're like, yeah, they're all excited. And then one of the recruits asked, sir, can we try to make it on one bottle? I was like, yeah, you can try, but you're going to die trying. There's no way. And Friday morning, first couple of companies, they took extra bottles, they hot swapped, and they made it. I was like, holy shit. And one company, they just did it. They went in, they didn't take anything but a set of irons, and they made it. And when they asked me if they could do it on one bottle, if they could try it, I was like, yeah, you can try. I'll tell you what, if any single company, if everyone makes it through on one bottle, when you're done, you can go home for the day. And so that company did it, and they made it. It was like 9:30 in the morning. I was like, okay, I'm a man of my word. Y'all go home. One kid, he was gone. Like, as soon as I said it, just, he's gone. Nobody else left. And they're like, well, sir, do we have to leave? Like, oh, no, I mean, your time's your own. You stay here. Every other company after that did it on one bottle. I was like, you've got to be shitting me, man. And I mean, I was blown away. And they were all just thrilled. And funny thing was, at the end of the day, we have this thing, we close every day training the same way. And it's kind of like a chant, but part of it is I say how long you work, and the response is, until the job's done, sir. And Rob, the guy helping me, I guess he organized this. I didn't know anything about it. But when I yelled, how long will you work? They all yelled, longer than Vandervoort, sir, which was the one recruit who left. And I started laughing. Rob was getting it on video. He put it on Facebook and shit. I was like, oh my God, that's awesome. But yeah, so that's the Mean 15. And now every class that I've run ever since then, so this is my 10th class. So 10 classes have now run the Mean 15. And it's, and the thing too, if you don't make it, if you die, there's no redemption runs. So I tell them, like, guys, sometimes you win, sometimes you learn. All right, but we're all going to learn on this thing, win or lose. And like I told you before, that kid today, he's one of the mentors, Austin Blake, and he came through in 2020, and his company died, and he's so competitive. Like, he's always looking for a new challenge. He runs ultra marathons. He does all this stuff. Well, today he asked if the mentors could run it, and I was like, well, yeah, by all means. And they did it. The funny thing too, they picked their own victim, and it was like the second smallest guy in the class. Oh. And so one of the other mentors, they're all buddies, but he's like, no. And he got the biggest guy in the class, who weighs like 250. And so about 300 pounds in gear. They didn't know it though until they found him. And they're like, oh my God. But anyway, they made it on one bottle. And when Austin got to the bottom, I grabbed him, I hugged him, and he's like, I thought he was going to tear up, man. He's like, I've been waiting 5 years for that.
So technically you got redemption.
Oh yeah. I was so happy for him, because I know that'd been just bugging him ever since.
The kid that left, is he still on the department?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, he's a good fireman. I don't want to take anything away from Vandy. He's a good fireman. It was just funny that day how it worked out.
That's incredible. And then the other drill that I saw on Facebook this week was the hose monster. That looks
Oh, yeah.
horrible.
Yeah, the hose monster. So that's like a pretty fundamental skill. Everybody learns smooth bump to the pump. That's how you find your way out. So we just kicked it up a notch. And a lot of different departments do hose monsters, but I think ours is a little more spicy. But yeah, we run 3 hand lines in. They're all different sizes. There's an 1.75 inch, a 2 inch, and a 2.5. And we just twist it around everything, and anything we can find that could possibly be an obstruction. We take the 3 lines and we'll like braid them together and, run them up and down the stairs and through reduced profile props and all kinds of stuff. And yeah, you just got to stay in your line. What makes it challenging, more challenging, is we'll start 3 recruits at the same time on each different line. So if they encounter each other, they have to work together to try to get past each other. And, where it gets really tricky is when they encounter each other on the stairs and they have to figure that out. But all these things, not only are we like, this is so much harder than it's ever going to be in real life, So yeah, we're teaching survival, but we're also teaching. The overall lesson is, if you're in a set of gear, there's nothing you can't do. We can do anything. And I think by the end of this week, I think today, those kids are feeling pretty confident,
Well, and I believe firmly that there's a lot of academies that say shit like it's confidence builder, and it's not. Yeah. It's not a confidence builder. It's breaking people down. I think this is confidence builder.
Yeah, I tell my instructors, like, when you take a recruit and you show them that that they're capable of doing something that they thought was impossible, that's how you inspire greatness in people. And I've put out some, my guys and I will put out some great firefighters, and you can see that moment, like when they do something, they get it. They're like, I never thought I could do that. And they do it. And then they become good at it. It's like, guys, none of this is impossible. Oh man, I love talking about this recruit, Victoria Penny. She's a really good firefighter. Had her a few years ago. She's 4'11", weighs 110 pounds.
Shut up.
Nope. I'm not shitting you. And yeah, she struggled with a lot of things, but by the end of that academy, like, if you can imagine a 4'11" woman weighing 100 pounds carrying a 24-foot ladder on her shoulder, and then being able to not just, go and stick it, but run with it and stick it and extend it and all this. That's what she was doing by the end. And I was like, this girl is part grizzly. Like that EGH drill I talked about, her company was the only one, that class, that made it out with one company. And I was like, and just watching her work, I don't know, all she needed was that spark, and I got my team. I had a girl working with me as one of the mentors. Her name's Amelia Wall. Small statured woman. She's got a little more meat to her than Victoria Penny did, but she's really strong. But I told her, it's like, I want you to work with her, because when I watched her carrying a ladder, it was almost frightening to watch. Like, I don't know what's about to happen. So she worked with her intensely and like one-on-one. And after she kind of started to get it, she was off to the races.
No stopping her.
No, I mean, the 1/316 nozzle, she outweighed the nozzle reaction by 1 pound.
Damn.
Yeah, I mean, your gear helps some, but I saw that thing tossing her around. I was like, girl, you're gonna have to learn some technique. But then she did, and she got it, and she was awesome, and she still is. She's doing great.
I love that. So, if you were to leave the listeners with a thought about training firefighters, what would it be?
Don't settle for the minimum standard. I know nationally we have this minimum standard, and most people train to it, but that's purely foundational. We've got to go much further, and anybody can do it. I
love that. Cort, you probably don't know this, but I talk about dogs on my podcast every time. Do you have a dog?
I do, yeah.
Tell me about your dog.
Okay. My girlfriend and I guess they're really her dogs, but we got a Malinois who's,
I love those.
Yeah, she's great. Her name's Olympia. My girlfriend Erica has had her for a long time. I think she's 8 or 9 years old now. And we also have a new dog. So unfortunately, she had a Chihuahua. She's very old. She's like 14. And a couple weeks ago, we had to put her down. And my girlfriend was, crushed, obviously. She'd had that dog since it was a puppy. And so I surprised her with a new puppy. And it's a it's called a Chiser. It's a half Chihuahua, half miniature Schnauzer.
Oh,
And I can show you a picture, but
definitely.
yeah, her name is Halligan.
Of course it is.
Yeah, and she's a terror right now. But she'll bite anything that's near her. But it's worth it.
Oh my God. How big is that dog going to get?
I think like 10 or 11 pounds.
Oh, that's not bad.
No, she's tiny.
That's amazing. See,
Yeah.
It's always worth asking about the dogs. And that's a killer name, Halligan.
Yeah, I've had dogs my whole life.
Yeah. Everyone thinks I have dogs. I don't. I'm just like the crazy aunt that gets the kids riled up, gives them sugar, and sends them home. That's how I am with dogs.
Yeah.
Well, it has been A, a really long day for you, and B, an awesome pleasure to speak with you. So I think we can drop the mic. What do you think?
Yeah, I would say if anyone wants more information on my academy or anything we do, including the physical fitness stuff, they can email me at firesmith405@gmail.com. We've got, I've shared this stuff with firemen all over the country. We've got our 2-month pre-hire program that we send out to the prospective recruits. If they follow that, they should be fine. Unfortunately, only about half of them do it. So half of them suffer. But anyway, that's all right.
Half of them are knuckleheads.
Yeah.
I will put that in your social media stuff in the show notes, and
okay, yeah.
Also the talent code. That's a great book.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic. If you're a fire service instructor and you've not read that book, you're doing yourself a disservice.
I think I told you I accidentally ordered the talent code because I was supposed to get the talent war.
Oh, okay.
And once I read the talent war, I'm like, this is terrible. Not so great. But I actually read the talent code. Then it's a fantastic book. So good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to wish you a happy Friday night.
You too.
Thanks, Cort.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you.